Previously on the Midnight Channel. Remember that alcohol that guy asked a teenager to fetch for him? Skills Spanner. Yukiko Margaret.
Wait a sec, I don't want to go.
We can actually wear the gag glasses in combat now. They tend to resist a lot of things, and they're often resilient against all-out attacks, and they hit really, really hard. Okay.
It's not strong at all.
And very often in Japanese, when, oh, that's for hitting witnesses 50 times, I want to monopolize you.
Ooh, can I have this one?
Yes! 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 I've been waiting for this, to quote a certain someone from P3.
Okay.
Looks like Bright Fuzz is blasting off again! Oh, this too!
Penetrated.
Bare naked? Was I supposed to laugh?
And now... Welcome back to Persona 4 Golden. Before we head back into the dungeon, we're actually gonna get rid of some junk personas from Shuffle Time in the Velvet Room. I really need to clear out my stock. So first thing I'm actually gonna do is fuse Sylph with, I believe, yes, Kusi to get Ippon Datara, and this will give us Ippon Datara with Tsukukaja. Hermit Arcana, we never need a matching persona for that, but your stats are pretty solid. The weakness to light is a bit of a problem though. Make sure you actually remember to pass down Tsukukaja. And, oh, we've got a few things we could get here. All of these are not bad. Growth 1 is nice, but I think I'd rather have Garu for now. To make a technically 3 elements Ippon Datara. I just saved, so it's okay if this one ends up, but it didn't end up being one. So Ippon Datara is a persona that I feel like could have been given to the Metalworks loving girl, that one NPC at school that I really like. Seems to be a being based on a, like, urban legend about a ghost of a blacksmith in Japan. But anyway, you might notice that we are not getting the rank up. Like I said in the bio, you actually have to leave the Velvet Room and then go back in once you have the right persona.
Welcome to the Velvet Room.
And when you get the voice acting from Margaret, you know that you've done it right. Interestingly, there's actually a lot of voice files for Margaret's social link, and very few of them are actually used. I know there's a Persona 5 social link or confidant that's like that too, but I don't want to say what it is because it's kind of a spoiler. Yes, we only made one Persona. Don't get too excited about infinite potential yet. So, yeah, I'm actually not the biggest fan of Margaret or her social link personally, but I'll get into why later on. We're already starting to see elements of why, but her next request is Matador with, or Matador I think it's pronounced, with Mahama. How fitting now that a remaster of Nocturne has been announced. So Matador I think is a little above our level at this point. We might be able to fuse it via search, but I don't think we're at the, I think it's like level 25 or 24. Ah, it's 24. Yeah, so we can actually fuse it, but it's a pretty good persona actually, minus the fire weakness. But, and Swift Strike is kind of nice, but actually getting Mahama onto it, I believe Archangel learns that in a few levels. Yeah, we'll take care of that a bit later, but for now, let's see what else we can make through fusion. There is Waffle, but we're nowhere near high enough level for Waffle yet. We will be soon. We kind of want to be around level 25 for the boss of this dungeon. Sarasvati is actually a pretty solid persona. Not only is she Priestess, but she also learns Invigorate 2, which is very useful for conserving SP early on. But, I kind of don't want to get rid of my Ippon Datara, but you know what? Oh. Okay, I won't get the debuff down, but I have other ways of passing that on. Agi, Garu, Zio, I already have Bufu. I have 4 elements on one persona. I did not expect I'd be able to do that yet. That's really cool. And I need you for Yu-Gi-Oh! Social Link anyway. So that was actually a pretty good fusion. I wasn't even planning on getting that, and then it just worked out that way. Unfortunately, no Invigorate 2, but I can easily get that via an Emperor skill card, which is surprisingly common. There's Legion. I find Legion is not nearly as common in fusion accidents in this game as he was in Persona 3. And there's no charm in this game, so you don't need to worry about the horror that is Sexy Dance Legion. Now, Yuxini is a persona that I also kind of want to get. She's strong against electricity, and can easily be fused with Resist Physical, which is not a bad idea for the upcoming boss. But on the other hand, I also... Actually, hang on. Principality gets Mahama fairly soon. That's going to be useful for fusing Matador. But I do want to fuse this thing as well, because it nulls electricity, but I would also very much like to get you with Resist Physical if I can. This is one of my favourite personas to use for the boss of this dungeon. And Phoenix is also not a bad option, because it also nulls electricity, though its endurance is bad, but its Maragi will hit the weakness of not the boss, but one of the boss's minions. I should probably register Jack Frost first. Okay, I don't like the fact that I'm getting rid of Jack Frost for this. Oh, right, I'm an idiot. I can't even fuse you anyway, I need to be one more level. What was I thinking? Because this should be enough of a social link bonus to get me Mahama. Resist Physical. Oh, Dekaja's not bad for the upcoming boss. Taru Unda. And then I guess Tarukaja. Principality also has some pretty solid stats, so while we're doing triangle spread fusions, I should probably mention something. So while two-way fusion only takes into account the base levels of the personas, triangle spread takes into account the current level of the personas. And that means that while fusion calculators on two-way spreads will never be wrong, triangle spreads on fusion calculators might be wrong. Your results may vary there, depending on the levels of your personas, so just be careful when you're checking those guides. That was particularly annoying for me when I was trying to make Matador with Mahama. I was like, why isn't this combo that I found online working? And it was because some of my levels were a little bit different. Okay, I definitely want to keep you for Mahama. However, I could also go straight to Sheep and go for Resist Physical on you. You already have Rakunda. And so I could go for... I could even get back my triple debuffs, but I'd like to keep Mahama on something. And Twin Shot is not bad. I already have Quad Elements on Sarasvati. But I also like these other debuffs. I think I'll get Sukunda, actually. I don't have a lot that has that. So this Velvet Room session is not really going as I planned, but I think it's going alright. I don't often fully plan out the Velvet Room, but I just kind of like to see what I can get by just looking around and seeing what personas I can make and what skills I can give them. I sometimes like to call that persona window shopping. It gets surprisingly addictive. Okay, so your level's kind of low, but if I grind you via Gold Hands, you'll be my main bet against the boss. But I do need a Sun persona for later, but yeah, I already have cheap option for Sun in Kusi. Yeah, I think I'm actually alright right about now. I just really like to grab an Emperor card so you can get Invigorate 2. Anyway, okay, before saving, I think we're going to need to dip into our supply of energy drinks. Yeah. Okay, that's going a little low. Let's switch to Dr. Salt Neo. I don't know why I raised Cheer's SP. I think I'm used to Persona 5, where I have a lot of people who really need SP. Anyway, it's time to head back into the dungeon to search for Kanji. And before we do anything else, we're going to see the conversations on the gag glasses. Like I promised last episode. Yeah, I don't know how people would react if that happens. The conversations for these are really good. So yeah, this is an example of where, if you have, some particular members in your party, they'll comment on other people's costume conversations. At this point, we have no choice but to have Yukiko in our party, but if we didn't have her, then, obviously, the dialogue would be a little bit different. And some of the costume conversations you can only get if you talk to a certain person twice. Even with specific party combinations. Well, maybe the shadows will be too distracted laughing. Oh, that's all. Okay. And sadly, it's gonna be goodbye to the gag glasses for now, because what's a costume that we haven't used yet? Actually, we've already used all of these. But we haven't seen Yukiko's comments on the jerseys, so we might as well switch to our jerseys here. Okay, what do you have to say about this? I have just started playing Persona 5 Royal, so gym clothes now have very, very bad associations for me. Huh. That? I don't know if that's actually... Because, yeah, the anime predated Golden, and there was a table tennis scene in the anime, but not so much in the game. Well, that's a pretty cool conversation. Yeah, I'm glad I did this now, because later on, I might not have had Shea in the party. Okay, that's really good. Yeah, again, city gym clothes. Bad associations for me now. Yeah, the beginning of P5 is just... Oh, wow, it's so dark and bleak. I kind of forgot about that.
Two enemies left!
You guys are weak to this, right? Well, at least one of you died to it. Sheeped! Sheep is just, I don't know, like there's something about the word sheep that makes it an inherently funny word. It gets even funnier if you deliberately use bad grammar and call it sheeps for plural. I don't know, it's just one of those words that's just... Anyway, we have more gold shadows here. And, okay, right, I'm gonna suddenly switch tunes because I promised that I would address the kanji issues in, like, the next time I got into the dungeon, so, yeah, I guess I will do that now. So, yeah, I have kind of been thinking about how I would, talk about this for a while, because as of now, I have actually uploaded already the part where we first meet Kanji, and there have been a lot of different opinions on it, which is interesting, because, like, I do think a lot in his character is, open to interpretation, and it may have been a bit of a cop-out that the writers did it that way, but you have to remember that this game came out in 2008. Now, that obviously doesn't excuse anything, but it's definitely a different context to keep in mind. So, back in 2008, in both Japanese and in Western gaming, there was not a lot of significant gay representation in video games. Japan often did have a few gay characters. They'd often be more minor characters, like that one character in Earthbound.
Couldn't quite beat it.
But usually Western releases would either gender flip or censor them. 2008 was kind of that strange tipping point where things were starting to get a little bit better, but not quite. For example, Mass Effect didn't even have, like, same-sex romance options that were not one-gender race aliens who could reproduce with anything. Until... Hey, cheer, that's not nice at all. Until Mass Effect 3 in 2012, which I was kind of shocked when I found that out. Because people thought Western RPGs were usually better about same-sex romance options, but no. So, at the time, especially for Japan, which I'll get to later about Japanese society,
Chie-chan's all confused.
I was about to say Yukiko was going to have words about this later, and then I realized she'll probably just end up laughing about it.
Chie-chan's in danger. Heal her.
I can do that later.
Chie-chan's really hurting. Heal her.
What I was saying is that at the time, like, even having a character like Kanji who's just questioning his sexuality was pretty huge. Although, at the time, a lot of Western media outlets really latched onto this, and they started seeing things in a way I feel might not have been fully intended. Many of them saw Kanji as, like, extremely positive gay representation, and I don't know if that was really the intention. And if that was the intention, they may have messed up with it a little bit, because, to sum it up, I feel like... Okay, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. In the opinion of the Japanese director of this game is that Kanji's sexuality is ambiguous and up to the interpretation of the player. Now, his English voice actor, Troy Baker, does say that he interprets Kanji as gay, and that the voice director told him to play the character that way. And I do feel that a lot of aspects of that were actually played up in the English localization.
Don't think.
Another level for me.
And I do fully think this is a valid interpretation, especially replaying this game and seeing some of the lines in Kanji's dungeon. It could definitely be taken that way. The thing about shadows, like all psychology and all psychological symbolism, is they're very subjective and ambiguous. That thing's gonna catch me if I go for this chest, but I don't know if I really... No, it decided to be... No, it got me anyway, because I was too busy opening that door. But broadly, shadows represent what Mr. Edogawa said in the lecture, what you don't want to be seen as by others. Now, in Kanji's case, that has a few possible implications. It could be that, that he is gay and just is afraid of being seen that way, or it could be that he's afraid of being seen as a stereotype and bullied by society for, being viewed that way.
It's our turn first.
But regardless of Kanji's sexuality, I think there's a lot more to his character than that. And there's even more to Shadow Kanji than that. Because there are also elements of Japan's culture forcing traditional masculinity and traditional femininity on people, and just the damage that can do to people and how it makes people afraid to be themselves. There are even, as you will see a little bit later, elements of Kanji fearing that he's slipping into outright misogyny as well. Which, again, you'll see that a bit later. It won't really make all that much sense now, but... And I do think there's a lot more to Kanji's development and his character arc than some places that just say he's gay and all of his issues would be solved by coming out of the closet. I feel like that's a bit of an oversimplification. And something that a lot of these outlets did not know at the time, and I can't blame them because Persona 2 Innocent Sin wasn't localized back then, but Persona 2 Innocent Sin had Jun, an explicitly gay party member who was also a romance option for the male protagonist. And while there's evidence that a same-sex romance option was planned for this game, it was Yosuke, not Kanji.
I smell... 3 enemies! Let's get through this! Come, Jiraiya! 3 enemies down! If you say so.
Go forth!
Sean.
defeat
You
it.
hit its weak spot.
Okay, yeah, we interrupt this this discussion to mention that Yukiko just outsped Chie in the turn order. That's really rare. Chie's agility starts out pretty low. It only starts getting higher later on, but okay, that might change things. But yeah, and then if you compare like this game's treatment to how Persona 5 treated gay issues, then it's also a step back. I do feel like Japan, like while Western games have definitely taken leaps and bounds in terms of gay representation, Japan has definitely taken a lot of steps back as well, and that's something that I also want to get into, is that the way that people viewed this through the lens that they did of Westerners looking into Japanese culture back then and misunderstanding a lot of things. However, we have a mini-boss coming up, and I might have to put my discussion on hold throughout this one. This speech by Shadow Kanji in particular I find really interesting, and it's something that I will get into later on. I can't quite explain this now. He's acting like the announcer of a wrestling match. Just bear that in mind. It's another thing that I find interesting about him is that he kind of flips between stereotypical camp gay and stereotypical machismo.
One enemy ambushed you. Hang in there.
And I feel that ties into a lot of Kanji's own issues about conflict over what society expects of men. But anyway, the Daring Gigas...
You can win this. Do your best.
A lot of people were surprised that the Avenger Knight got demoted from mini-boss pretty quickly. This guy appeared as a regular enemy before he was a mini-boss. He's interesting because he always follows the exact same pattern. He will always use Power Charge, Rebellion, Tarukaja, and then a physical attack. So as long as you guard with the whole party after he uses Tarukaja, this fight is not that bad. I say that, and it's still kind of an issue because on hard mode, even if you guard, this still does a ton of damage.
Here goes. Someone else's turn.
Now, the annoying thing about this guy is that you want to use magic attacks to damage him, because he is not immune to physical, but he has the counter skill, which gives him a random chance of repelling physical damage back in your face.
So persistent.
Yes, there's Tarukaja. He's going to attack next turn. We all need to guard. And unfortunately, I think Chie is in death range even if she does guard. Yep, there's single shot.
Yosuke's hurt. Someone do something.
Yeah, it looks like on hard mode, even if you guard, he still one-shots you, so I think I need to debuff his attack. So, do I have anyone with an attack debuff here? I have Jack Frost. I may as well go for that. And then I might have to restore use SP mid-battle so that he can actually, use this again. Let's get Yosuke back up and then heal. We'll obviously need to save some of these revival beads for later, because I have a feeling I'll be using a lot of them against the upcoming boss. I use the phrase, the upcoming boss, a lot, I just realized. But I mean, it's true. There is a boss that is coming up at the end of this dungeon. There's Power Charge. Yeah, you kind of want to time your debuffs as well, because otherwise... yeah, they'll wear off before he actually attacks. I'm gonna just risk this. Okay, no counter, that's good. We can also Sukukaja each other to have increased dodge rates, and I may as well put that on Yukiko just to make sure that she doesn't die horribly any given second. I don't know about using Tarukaja on people.
Yikes, it's tough.
Yeah, because it wears off pretty fast. I guess you'll just keep using Agi. There's also something that's kind of funny about this mini-boss that will happen later. Okay, Rebellion's back.
It's not strong at all. I'm sure you can win.
You have not Tarukaja'd yet. I know he tends to keep following this pattern. I could be missing the pattern and being horribly, horribly wrong here. But... okay, I think I'll just have you attack. I can't believe I haven't got countered yet.
Yikes, it's tough.
He might be going for attack here. I might have actually messed up his pattern by debuffing his attack, honestly.
Couldn't do it.
Okay, yeah, there's Tarukaja. So, we're all guarding this turn, and most of us will probably still die.
Yosuke's hurt! Someone do something!
Yeah, this is on hard mode is mostly just a battle of endurance. Revive you again. Just keep damaging him, basically. The faster you beat him, the less of these attacks you need to worry about. Okay, the turn order is really out of whack now. If I Medea, might I get... I think Chie at least might be in not death range of that attack. Yeah, okay, there's Power Charge, so he's back to the start of his pattern. Next turn should be, Rebellion.
It's not going down.
I don't even know if I should use that Chewing Soul save for later. Might as well do this now. I kind of want to debuff him again. More his defense than his attack, actually. I guess I can Tarukaja Yukiko again. Yeah, single target buffs in Persona are generally... can be kind of hard to know when to use them.
I can't defeat it.
There's Rebellion. I'm still not sure if we'll actually beat this guy before we get a chance to see the funny thing that can happen. Because once that happens, then this fight gets really kind of amusing. I guess I'll defense down you, because that's exactly what I restored SP for. And Bufu, not often you see Chie spamming ice, but I don't want to get countered. Agi.
I can't defeat it.
Okay, so it's a guard turn now, even though it won't save Yosuke. I could go for a Medea on Yuko and just bank on him not targeting her, but I mean, he's targeted Yosuke every turn so far, but I don't want to take my chances. No, I think he's... okay, either he prioritizes who will die, or he always goes for Yosuke. Maybe he does always go for Yosuke. That'd be kind of interesting if that was true. And it would make sense to an extent. Maybe he focuses on male party members first.
Someone finish it off.
And yep, there's that buff wearing off.
Couldn't do it.
There we go! Yes! We actually got to see it! So yeah, he eventually runs out of SP, and then he wastes his first 3 turns. Because he still tries to use all of those attacks. It's kind of a shame that I don't think we have access to anything like Spirit Drain at this point, but it'd be kind of funny if you could, because I know there are some bosses in Final Fantasy games where part of the strategy is actually draining their MP so that they waste their turns doing nothing, or in some cases outright die from lack of MP. I know there are a lot of bomb-based bosses in Final Fantasy that do that. But yeah, that's that fight. On hard mode, you basically have to resign yourself to the fact that some people are going to die every 4 turns. And with that, we get the Bathhouse Key. This is that really weird thing about this dungeon that I was talking about earlier, and I might be able to show it, but it does require me to backtrack a lot for no real purpose. So, the Bathhouse Key unlocks that door back on the 3rd floor, and all that 3rd floor, like, all that door is a shortcut to the stairs. I don't know why that door is locked, and it doesn't even skip out all that much of the dungeon, honestly. It's really weird. Like, if that was, like, if it led to a shortcut to maybe, like, the higher floors or something, letting you get to them faster, that'd be kind of cool, but really, it's just kind of pointless to me.
An ambush by 3 enemies! Don't cry! in danger! He needs help! Seriously? Sensei! Oh, there! Now's your chance to run!
We have really not been lucky with seeing those dancing hands yet. I think they are more common on the higher floors, and I guess I will heal you. Okay, you has Medea now, but I might as well Medea with you instead. Haven't even found the stairs yet. This is a fixed layout floor because I have a mini-boss on it, and often these fixed layout floors get kind of confusing, as I may have already said. Aha, I think I made the right choice in skipping out on that previous enemy. So, I guess while I'm here, I can continue what I was talking about before. So, about, like, Japanese culture. So, this game came out about the time that, Japan Mania was kind of sweeping the West. Anime and Japanese video games were finally starting to become mainstream. And what that meant was that people had, and okay, I am going somewhere with this, so don't, this might sound weird at first, but, like, bear with me. People were discovering Yuri and Yaoi for the first time, and they saw those and thought, wow, Japan has two whole genres about gay romance. Obviously, their society must be so much more accepting than the West is, right? And it wasn't until much, much later when people actually started to get in contact with, people of the gay community in Japan when they realized, no, that is not the case at all. In fact, quite the opposite, and that's a big part of why Kanji's Dungeon exists. Like, this was not considered socially acceptable in Japan at the time, and sadly it probably still isn't now. Because the thing that people eventually found out about, I mean, not so much Yuri, because Yuri's a little bit borderline. Yeah, I bet you'd never expect me to talk about Yuri and Yaoi in one of my videos, but here I am. That's kind of borderline. I feel like some of those, like, actually legitimately are same-sex romance stories, but Yaoi, people eventually discovered, is primarily written by straight women for straight women. And very often, the characters in it don't even identify as gay or even bisexual. It's often just like a case of, if it's you, it's okay. There is another manga, I don't know if it's really considered like a genre, but something that I was going to mention, Maka Jam plus Silence Boost, maybe. Actually, yeah, I really don't care for this. I'd rather get rid of Silence Boost, because I get rid of Maka Jam to keep Silence Boost. Silence Boost is a wasted slot. Okay, we have Assault Dive now. And I'm going to quickly look up to see if that's better than Skewer. It is literally superior in every way except for HP cost. Same crit rate, higher power, higher accuracy. And I used to call that move Assault Drive for some reason. It might have been because, like, Flare Blitz in Pokemon is called Flare Drive in Japanese, so sometimes the term drive is used for physical attacks, but yeah, anyway. What I was saying is, I should have mentioned this earlier, but when Shadow Kanji first appeared and that title card said like, Rosy Paradise, that is a reference to a category of usually manga in Japan called bara, which literally means rose. Unlike yaoi and boys love, that is usually written by gay men for gay men, and typically features more muscular male characters as opposed to pretty boys. I'm kind of escaping from most enemies at this point because I feel like it's much more efficient to get experience off of the hands. I am definitely running low on items though. And there's Kanji obsessing over his masculinity again. And with lines like that, it's definitely possible to interpret Kanji as being gay. I personally go with the director's interpretation that it's up to the interpretation of the player. But yeah, like Teddy's saying there, there's also a lot about the search for identity, about finding yourself, and about how you should really just not care about what other people think and about stereotypes and just be yourself and find people who accept you for who you are. You really shouldn't ever have to feel uncomfortable being yourself. It's just... yeah, as someone who's been bullied a lot in, well, who was basically bullied all through high school, I can definitely relate to that. Now, this dungeon actually has 11 floors, and I want to get to the last floor during this part, so I might be speeding through things a little bit here. I'll be getting preemptive strikes where I can, but I might actually have to come back for those hands. So, yeah, we need their Daidara drop, basically.
I can't defeat it.
How about that?
Okay, that was not a very successful hand fight.
You did it, Sensei!
But it was a level up anyway.
All right, I leveled up.
Okay, you get Tentarafu now, which actually can be kind of good if you get lucky against hands, because if they're panicked they can't dodge or run. What do I get rid of for that? Honestly, I'd never really use Mucker Jam. It's a new skill for Golden, but I still don't think it's that good. They buff status ailments a lot in P5, and a bit too much in PQ, which actually did come after Golden. And yeah, everyone is pretty severely low on health right now. But, yeah, so... In summary, there are a lot of different ways to interpret Kanji. I think he's a fantastic character. Really? Really? I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the next encounter is immediately another hand? And yeah, of course, it was another hand.
Beat the stuffing out of it.
But I suppose I can finish my thought here. I think the kanjis are relatable to a lot of different people. But I also think that
Wait, it didn't work.
they're completely immune to that. Okay then, scratch what I just said. That's really annoying.
Yikes, it's tough.
These battles would actually be way less luck-based if they weren't immune to that, so that's pretty frustrating, honestly. But yeah, because of various circumstances surrounding, like, the time this game was released and, how things are depicted in this game, if you are interpreting Kanji as gay, I don't think he's exactly the best representation. There's been far, far better representation in games that came out later, so that might be one reason why that's not personally my interpretation. Like, I go towards the interpretation that he's maybe bisexual, but some people think that's a cop-out. Anyway, I just wanted to get my thoughts on the whole issue out before we reach the boss fight, where we get to talk about symbolism. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, there's a chance that... No, but I think I'll just grab the Persona, because I don't even have you yet. Not gonna risk, we did get a Magatsu Xandrite, though. Not gonna risk potentially losing half the experience there. Okay, counter. That's interesting. That gives her a 10% chance of reflecting physical attacks, like it says. Now we have to get rid of something, though, which is kind of a shame, because Skullcracker is also nice to have. To be honest, basic Bufu, I might want to just get rid of that. We're not encountering a lot of enemies that drain or repel ice, and really that's the only reason you'd not... The only situation where you wouldn't want to use Mabufu in. And it's going to be another shadow, no, okay, just a life stone, that's fine. Small shadow, let's just quickly check what you are. Really? These things?
Oh, there! Now's your chance to run!
What does that do again? I think that's like a resist fear. Yeah, it's a resist fear. I think I found an anti-electricity accessory earlier on. Yeah, Volt Suppressor. Might as well preemptively equip Yosuke with that. He's gonna need it very soon. And that's another line that, well, to some it might not leave a lot to interpretation, but I feel like there are a few ways you can interpret that line. Whether it's just Kanji wanting somewhere where he can feel comfortable with himself and with who he is. Yeah, it's Fuku and Mitsuru and Tadara saying there's a boss nearby all over again, but they can't pinpoint its exact location. But I know it's on the next floor. Also, if you look closely at like the Steamy Bathhouse name tag there, it was clearly struggling to fit the number 10 in there.
You can attack before them. You can win this. Do your best.
Egotistical King is new though. And Egotistical King is, let's see, he's weak to fire. Just realized that I have not really tried out Sarasvati that much. I've been mostly focusing on grinding my sheep against,
Charge through them.
that sounded weird, but against the hands because I really want him to be as high level as possible because he's kind of going to be my main thing for the boss. So I think like most kings, these things can summon more enemies.
Did that do it?
It's not going down.
They don't seem to be all that tough though. Also, haven't really fully acknowledged it yet, but yeah, Chie has Rampage now. It has an extremely low crit rate, and it's unlike most of her moves, and it's very inaccurate, but it's her best AoE damage for a while. No, I'm gonna take that. I can easily fuse a better Yaksini. We are getting more gems, though. So, we are almost there. And we haven't even seen any dancing hands at all. There's another enemy around here called the Grave Beetle. There's also Crying Table. And I know these because we will need to fight them later for side quests, but those quests sadly don't become available until after this dungeon is completed. So, if I don't encounter them here, I will encounter them here. Because, yeah, you have Mabufu. Jack Frost also has it. And you have Resist Fire. I think they're gonna use fire attacks on me, so I might as well go for this. I'm pretty, like, I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure these things are, yep, of course, they're weak to ice. They have fire on them, after all. That logic doesn't apply to everything, but sometimes that logic fits, and most Magician Arcana enemies have a tendency to be, fire-focused. Resist Physical, though. I honestly just want to finish this with physical attacks. Oh, hey, I got a crit there. I was thinking that they still ended up getting a turn, but no, thanks to that crit. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the point where I succumb to muscle memory and press triangle to use a persona because I've been playing Persona 5 Royal, and in this game, triangle puts you in rush mode. Oh, that's new too. Killer Twins.
You can win this. Do your best.
That also sounds like the name of a movie or something. You are also weak to fire. Yeah, they put a lot of enemies that are weak to fire in this dungeon because you just got Yukiko in your party. Something that I don't think I've fully mentioned yet is that a lot of enemy weaknesses did change in Golden.
3 enemies down.
And this was especially true of Yukiko's castle. I might talk about this fully a bit later in this dungeon visit, because we're going to have to go back into the castle to... Unfortunately, you can't skip or speed through these animations. But, we will have to go back there, this dungeon visit, because of side quests. And there I'll fully explain it, but the enemies in Yukiko's castle in the vanilla PS2 version were just kind of excessive, in my opinion, for an early game dungeon. A lot of them repelled or absorbed elements, which is kind of insane. Okay, that's new. The Lover's Arcana, as it says, you get no item drop from the battle, but you get 2 more. Tying in with Lovers being all about making hard choices. Okay, yeah, this is looped back on itself, so we have to keep going a little further. Of course, the last floor would be the one that doesn't immediately give me the stairs. I mean, at least this isn't Pokemon Mystery Dungeon where sometimes you can just have the stairs in the room where you start. Another gold chest. I don't think their contents change at all, no matter where you encounter them in the dungeon. That's my last chest. Bead. Not the best thing I could get out of a gold chest, but I'll take it. And there are the stairs. I'm just going to go because I think this is it. Yes, this is the end. Through these doors is the boss. And we're going to do that next we interrupt this Midnight Channel episode because, like all good reality TV shows, we're going to leave you in suspense. Instead, we'll be doing a rerun of Yukiko's Dungeon, so see you next time for that. And a surprise twist at the end.